Hey there, it's Angela, and I'm so glad you found your way here to architecting. Creative careers can be stressful, and it's hard to be vulnerable, but this is your landing pad for raw honesty. I'll help you get clarity, reconnect with your passion, and have the career of your dreams. If you're ready to make a difference, have an impact, and say bye-bye to burnout, stick with me, and let's get architecting. Bright lights, it's Angela, and it is so good to have you here with me for this episode of Architecting. I'm here to help creative professionals just like you overcome all that overwhelm, stress, and burnout so that you can unlock your potential and have success on your terms, something I call stressless success. Today, I want to talk about something that a lot of people don't realize is disconnecting them from their success. And that is the source of your motivation. See, there are two kinds of motivation, extrinsic and intrinsic. And as you could probably figure out from the words, extrinsic motivation is motivation from outside. The carrots or the sticks that we encounter in life that motivate us. So we either want to achieve something we see as good or as a reward or as positive, or we want to avoid something that we think is some sort of punishment or loss for us. If you think about it, our whole society is very much set up that way. Our entire education system from when we are very young in preschool, certainly all the way through college, is designed to reward achievement and punish lack of achievement. So we get set up into this way of thinking and we take it with us into our careers. And because the people who were there before us took it into their career and the people who took it before them took it into their career and on, it becomes the premise that we unquestioningly accept, cemented into the work culture of how things are. So we just naturally gravitate to saying, what do I need to do to get ahead? Even what we're calling ahead is one definition of success. But we look to do that. We are trained to do that. And then we go around ticking the boxes on this getting ahead idea. Wherever we're working, we're going to try to crack the code on what they will reward. And we're going to naturally try to alter our behavior and strive for the things that are considered good and avoid the things that are considered bad. An example of this might be some firms will really reward competition. And so we will have to prove ourselves and beat out some of our coworkers in order to get certain opportunities. Other firms will really reward professional activity and accomplishments outside the firm. So people that work there will work really hard to get very engaged in things like their local AIA or other professional organizations, volunteer for committees, and be able to show what they can accomplish. Still, other firms will put a lot of value on personal interaction and whether you are leading from behind and how you are showing support and a positive attitude. So you can see that there's a big difference in what is valued, and often that set of values is what we think of as the culture of a firm. And we think, well, do I fit with this culture? Do I not fit with this culture based on how much we like doing things like competing or being active as a professional or mentoring others and being very supportive. Whatever feels the most natural will create what we feel is a good fit. However, all of these things are extrinsic motivation. What I've noticed as a career coach is that this extrinsic stuff only gets you so far. What matters way more is intrinsic motivation, the things that we find inherently satisfying, otherwise known as what brings us joy. So when we think about intrinsic motivation. That's coming from within. No one can tell you what that's going to be. It's just what resonates for you. Psychologists have been studying this for quite a few years and looking at these models of behavior. What their research suggests is that when we do something we love to do, then we are finding a great intersection between intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. That's when we're most likely to be successful. And that is something that is the foundation of the architecting community, finding that intrinsic motivation. I'd like to think I do a really good job of this because my son, who's a senior in high school this year, is almost intrinsically motivated to a fault. When he wants to do something that lights him up, something that really brings him a lot of joy and satisfaction, he's all in. I have to often pull him away from the piano. He loves to sit and play. He writes music all the time. He's taught himself to play the guitar. He recently challenged himself to write a piece for all of the kids who play instruments in the Latin club because he wants to win a video competition that, by the way, is not limited to music. He just is choosing this channel. These are random instruments, right? There's an oboe and a trumpet and a saxophone and some violins and piano, 9 different instruments, and he is writing a custom piece for this. Last year, he and his friend wrote a book about time travel through different periods of history. So this required some amount of research, and he made these detailed illustrations to go in the book. So he can do these things that he really, really gets excited about that are not part of any class assignment or anything he's required to do, just for the sheer love of doing it. On the other hand, I will get notices that he isn't turning in homework, and that's going to hurt his grades, even though he's really, really smart. But he doesn't care about grades. He doesn't even know what his grades are. That's how little he is motivated by grades. He felt overwhelmed by his Boy Scout Eagle project, so he's procrastinated on doing it. He could have done that this spring, which would have let him qualify for some other awards that you can get after you achieve the Eagle Scout rank. But for each of those rewards, it requires being an Eagle Scout for 3 months, and then you get the next one after another 3 months, and finally the third one. Well, he's only now getting around to it, and he's going to age out when he turns 18 in February. But he doesn't care. Those rewards don't motivate him. In fact, I think I'm a little bit more disappointed that he's not going to be eligible for them than he is. He loves running. He's decided he's going to run a marathon in the spring, and he's working on training for that. And his love for running started when he joined the cross-country team in 7th grade. He's run every year, and he's so dedicated to this, he runs home from school every single day. No matter what the weather is like, he insists on doing it with his heavy backpack as part of training. However, this year, he got into the high-level a cappella choir, which had practice that would conflict with cross-country practice, and he is president of the Latin Club and decided not only does he want to be available for the high school after-school meetings, but he wants to go over to the junior high and start recruiting. In his mind, these other things he loves to do were going to conflict with his ability to show up for cross-country practice. So even though he ran varsity last year, even though your senior year is the big year for doing sports, you get the poster made of you that they hang up at school, and he would have been guaranteed to run varsity again this year. He decided he didn't want to be on the team because he was not motivated by those rewards that most kids typically are. He runs for the joy of it, not for any accolades he can earn from being on the team as a senior. For him, it is all about purpose, interest, mastery, curiosity, pride in his ability to do something he cares about well. And I say he cares about because If he is not motivated to do something like his homework, it doesn't really matter to him that that's hurting his grade. Now, as you could probably figure out, I'm both very proud of him and sometimes a little bit exasperated, because what is important for success is that we recognize that we need both intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. If all we do in the world is only what we want to do, we may not be filling responsibilities. We may be disappointing other people who were counting on us to get something done that we then decided we weren't interested in doing. And we might even be sabotaging ourselves for something we may decide we really want because we didn't get the right credentials or accomplish the right things that we needed to in order to qualify for pursuing that thing. I'm thinking now of grade point averages and college applications, like in the case of my son. But as you could imagine, there could be a lot of things where deciding you didn't care about something might come back to bite you later on, because now you want to do something that required a foundation in the thing that you really didn't care about that much. And the fact that you let that fall is now making it harder for you to do the thing you really want to do. Even though you might not have thought that it would ever matter, or the two things don't seem that closely related, one might be a prerequisite for the other. So those extrinsic motivations do matter. However, I definitely want to be your wake-up call if you are stuck in a world where you think only the extrinsic things matter and you have kind of let your heart wither away and given up on doing work you really love because all you can think about is the money you need to earn, the career security you want to have, the status that is important to you as a professional or within your firm. Way too often we can get stuck in that thinking. There's usually a more clear-cut correlation between I did the thing, I get the reward. Not always, and that's where a lot of people can really get stuck. We do the things, and then we often don't get the payoff that we feel we deserve, but we've worked so hard. We may have made a lot of sacrifices to accomplish whatever extrinsic thing was out there. And then for some reason that we can understand are not getting the reward that should have, in our mind, corresponded to that work. If you can relate to that, then this is definitely the podcast for you. And you probably want to listen to this more than once, because more likely than not, you are so conditioned to extrinsic motivation that you don't even fully realize how deep you're in it yet. Listening this first time is going to give you a few light bulb moments, but I would recommend listening 2 or 3 times just to really catch yourself. To help you out with this, and it is essentially a motivation challenge, something to help you think about what motivates you. We start with, what makes you want to do something at all? Is it because you really enjoy the process, or because of the benefits that you think you're going to get from doing it? Are you eating healthy because your doctor told you you were pre-diabetic and you want to lose weight? Or are you eating healthy because you want to feel your best and you enjoy eating good quality food? Think about the emotions that you experience. Are you doing things because you want to feel emotions that are positive? And doing whatever it is that you're doing is enjoyable. It's relaxing. Maybe it gives you a feeling of freedom or fun or exhilaration. Or are the emotions that come from doing the things creating tension and pressure? performance anxiety because you feel like you need to do it the right way or be the best. Think about what you hope to get out of doing what you're doing. Is it for the love of the thing that you're doing? Because you want to learn, because you want to keep growing? Or is it because you think it will increase your social status, impress somebody, or get you some kind of financial reward or promotion? And if you think about everything that you do during the day, whether it is certain roles you play at work, certain tasks you do, or other activities that you are involved with that are either work related, family related, involving your friends, whatever they are, think about what is the source of your motivation. Is it coming from within, or is it coming out of a sense of expectation, need for validation, or a feeling of obligation to other people? There's no wrong answers here. It's okay if some of the things you do are more extrinsically motivated than others. There's definitely pros and cons of these different kinds of motivation. So when we are intrinsically motivated, we're more likely to do something over a long period of time because it doesn't feel like work or effort. We are doing it for the love of it. On the other hand, when we are extrinsically motivated, we're more likely to stick to the stuff that doesn't really interest us. You may not love cleaning. There are people that are clean freaks that will clean for the love of cleaning. It is a stress reliever for them. They really enjoy it. But if you're like me, you do not enjoy any aspect of cleaning. However, you are very motivated not to have a house that is bug infested, smelly, physically dirty. You care about your things and you want to maintain them. Even though those are extrinsic motivations, you're more likely to do something that you view as a necessary evil. If you're intrinsically motivated, you're just not going to care. And I told you about my son, and as you could probably guess, cleaning is not the top of his list. It is not an intrinsic motivator for him. And you could take a guess as to what his room and his lair in the basement look like. He does not care because he's not motivated to be neat and tidy. And even though I have more than once explained why it matters to maintain your things and not leave food out or trash out and put your clothes away, he just doesn't care. He's happy to live in filth because he's not motivated by cleaning. That extrinsic motivation can be very helpful with a lot of things that we may not find really exciting, but that are important for us to do. When it comes to personal growth, challenging yourself and getting outside of your comfort zone, intrinsic motivation is key. That desire to grow is what gives you the courage to say yes to something new. It's what makes the unfamiliar not feel scary, but feel exciting. It's what keeps you going, even when you might fail. And it is a key to being innovative because you are willing to try something new, to explore possibilities. On the other hand, if something is an extrinsic motivator for you, you are more likely to meet expectations. At your company, you probably have standards, policies, and procedures. You're much more likely to care about those things and to want to get them right. That's part of fitting in the culture. You're also, interestingly enough, more likely to care about how fast you can get something done and the efficiency you can bring to it when you are extrinsically motivated, because if these things matter, then the more of them you can do and do well, the more you're going to achieve. On the other hand, if you are only doing something for the sheer love of it, finishing is not really the point. It is about just being in the moment. It's the doing of the thing, not the completion of the task that is important to you. Also, if you are very much about your own pleasure, your own enjoyment, your own passions, probably feel pretty good most of the time and are not very interested in changing your habits or behaviors, even if some of them may not be serving you so much. A good example of this is, let's say you really love watching documentaries about astrophysics, and you stay up very late watching these things or reading articles. You don't get the sleep you need. So, well, there's nothing wrong with the thing you're very, very interested in. It is distracting you from self-care, which is causing you harm, but you're not motivated to get more sleep by going to bed at a reasonable hour because you're far more motivated by learning about the latest black hole that was discovered. And if you're extrinsically motivated, you may just completely abandon or walk away from something if you can't do that calculus to see how you are going to benefit externally. So let's say your boss is an avid golfer. So you decide to take up golfing so that you can impress your boss. Now you have something to talk about when you're recapping your weekend, or a way to make small talk riding the elevator together. And you're hoping that if you can keep practicing golf and get better and better at it, that you can start to get invited on golf outings with clients. Now, let's say you change your job and your new boss could care less about golf. All of a sudden, this hobby that you had invested time and money into honing your skill, suddenly you don't care about golf anymore. It no longer is of value to a person you perceive as able to reward you. And those are the fundamental differences, but you can see how sometimes external motivation can get us through what I always call the compulsories of life, the things that we have to do. On the other hand, if we are only extrinsically motivated, our life can start to feel very much like a slog, like we are in a perpetual mode of people pleasing, or that we are not always getting the rewards we think we should be getting for the time and the effort we're putting in. We feel a little bit dead inside because we haven't connected with our purpose and our passion. And that's what feeds our creativity. When you're only doing what you have to do because you feel, for whatever reason, that you have to do it, you are depleting your energy. When you do what you love, you are feeding your energy. Think about it, any situation that you encounter, whether it's a task you're doing at work, some extracurricular thing you're involved in, the way you interact in your relationships, and just be more mindful of it, because motivation and where it's coming from can really impact whether you are doing work you love and feeling really good about it, having the stressless success you deserve. Take care for now. I hope you have a great day, and I hope that you learned a lot about how to balance out your motivations so you can have your best life. Thanks for listening. If you want even more content, head on over to architectingpodcast.com and subscribe to my newsletter and get some great free downloads while you're there. Be sure to follow me on social media. On Instagram at Architecting Podcast, Facebook and LinkedIn pages are Architecting, and the YouTube channel Architecting Podcast. Stay inspired.